Hey, this is Tish Griffin back again with Family Credit Management Services to talk to you or to go over some survival tips for your finances. And we are going to talk about what happens when the unexpected happens and you need to survive. Yes, we've been in survival mode for so long, and we just wanted to go over some tips and share some things for you to watch out for as it relates to your finances. If you have any questions regarding your debt, regarding dealing with your creditors, regarding your spending habits or creating a budget, feel free to reach out to a counselor at Family Credit at 800-994-3328. Or you can go online and chat directly with a credit counselor at at familycredit.org. That's right. Use Family Credit's website as a resource. Also, there's some great tools there, especially like this one here, Personal Finance Made Easy. And I just want to point that out for you because that is such an amazing tool for you to sit down and go through your finances. A lot of people don't know where to start, and that is the perfect place. Go online, familycredit.org, and download Personal Finance Made Easy. You can also download My Spending Plan. I was going to say that first because that one is my absolute favorite. My Spending Plan will help you get started with your budget and know where to go with your finances. So we're going to talk a little bit though today about survival mode. And you may say, well, why would we talk about that as it relates? I need some help with my credit. I need some help with so much dealing with collection agencies and all of that. And it all wraps together dealing with your finances. So this summer, what we realize is that the Fed will be meeting, and pretty soon, or if they may have met by the time this actually airs, but they're going to be meeting on June 12th. They're going to meet again at the end of July. And during those meetings right now, they're saying that it's estimated that rates will not go down. So that means that we need to learn to live on what we have. And a lot of people are hoping, praying, and wishing that rates go down, that things get better. But it's not looking likely. So we need to learn how to live on what we have and survive. And so we are in what I will call survival mode when it comes to your finances. What we're realizing is that, the overall economic situation is not that bad. The United States economic situation does not look too bad at all. But for a lot of us that we're living paycheck to paycheck, we're trying to find a way out. We're trying to find what works for us. And we're realizing that we're not as far along as we would like. So we're going to talk about that. When you are looking to get your finance together, the first thing that I want to caution you is not just, hey, let's figure out who you owe. Let's look at all the bills. No, we got to take a step back, bring it back in just a tad, because before we can even do that, we need to make sure that we have the right mindset. And we want to make sure that our mindset is okay for us to actually deal with our finances. When you think about your credit, when you think about your bills that are coming in, you think about all of this, you think about getting your paycheck, and then you think about your paycheck is gone. That can be pretty stressful. So you want to take a step back and make sure that you have the right mindset to actually tackle your finances. And so with that being said, I want to bring it down just a little bit, and we'll have another show coming out that talks about your mindset. So you can check that out as well. But what I mean by having the right mindset, you want to make sure that when you work on your finances, you're not really stressed out. You want to be kind of mellow and chill when you deal with your bills. And that's because sometimes once we actually sit down and look at them all, we can get flustered. We can feel overwhelmed. And yes, it can cause our mood to change, which is why we want to make sure that we're in the right mindset to begin with. We also want to look at the purpose is to be able to balance all of this out that we're dealing with. Work, life, relationships, kids. It all hinges on your finances. So that's why you want to make sure that you've got that budget together first. One of the things that you want to do is concentrate first, sitting down, looking at your budget. What is it that you need to do? You want to make sure that you pay your necessities first. We want to make sure that you're looking at what you actually need versus what you want. Sometimes we prioritize the wrong things. We put importance on the wrong things. And first, when you think about what is the first step in trying to sit down and deal with my budget? I'm looking at everything that I need to pay. But guess what? You've got to know what you're working with. You need to know what your income is. And that's super important when you sit down and work on your bills. I'm going to say, why? Once you jump in and you see what it is that you're doing every single month, you got to make sure you got the money to cover that. So we do need to get an idea of what our income is. Next, we want to make sure that we're, again, looking at our needs versus our wants. The goal is for us to have a positive number at the end and have some money left. But when we're looking at whether it's something we need versus something we want, you start thinking like, how am I supposed to actually do this? I know I might feel that I need, cable, or I need a car. But here's the thing. It all depends on you. Your budget is different from my budget. Everybody's budget is the same. So you may live in an area where, you don't really need to rely on a car because there's public transportation. And when you look at public transportation, it could be a whole lot cheaper than you actually having a car note. Why is that? Because public transportation, you know what the cost is. But with the car note, guess what? You've got gas, you've got insurance, you've got repairs that could blow that budget to smithereens. That's right. Once your car goes down, now you have to figure out how you're going to pay for it. And a lot of times we don't have emergency savings or just emergency money put to the side for something like that. Now, if you do have an auto repair fund, I commend you because most people do not. So keep it going. And even when we're looking at what money should be set aside and allocated for different things, these are things that we want to think about as well. In the future, maybe there's a way that I can start a certain savings account or, set aside some money for auto repairs that does not interfere with my normal budget. That's what we want to get to. That is exactly what we want to get to. So think about this. When you're sitting down and actually going over what you actually need to make it, you've got to discipline yourself. You've got to go in, play devil's advocate against what you already think and say, do I really need that? What are some things that I can do? Because guess what? A lot of times we find that we are living at what we feel is our bare minimum. But is there anything else that we can cut out or cut back on? Because the cost of living is going up. And all the times we realize that our money is not changing. We still have the same income. Now we've just got higher expenses or more expenses. And when you're dealing with your budget, there's really only two things that you can do. If something happens, you have to be able to either increase your income or decrease your expenses. Sometimes cutting down your budget, you can only take it so far before you realize that, yes, I am really stretched thin. So after I look at my necessities, I look at how much I can save, I look at those bills that need to be paid, and I realize, man, I cut back pretty good. Now you want to see what can you do to increase your income. So before that, you want to really get in there, look at those expenses, take a look at those bills, and make sure that there's no other ways of reducing those expenses. Some of the things that you might even think about when reducing expenses is, if I've looked at all of my utility bills. And you may say, well, I don't need to look at my bills. I pay my bills every single month. I pay my light bill when it's due. I pay my gas bill, pay all of these bills every time I pay. I pay. I don't get behind. It is overwhelming, but I just pay. Sometimes you want to take a look at what those bills actually say. And if you notice, a lot of the bills that we receive nowadays are done electronically. So you don't even look at the bill. You just look at the amount that's due in the little email that you get or in the notice. And you're not paying attention to what am I truly being charged for. So take a look at those bills. Sometimes open it up and see what are you being charged for. See if there's a way to cut back or cut down on that as well. Things that we don't even think about looking at, it could be our streaming services or our cable. Have we looked at cable? Do we need to cut out cable? Are there cheaper alternatives? Do we even need it? Do we just need internet access? Do we need to just stream things? Do we need a connection for our computer? These are things that we want to actually ask. And then you can call up your cable company and say, hey, yeah, I just need internet, or I don't need it at all. Or, I'll find a router, Wi-Fi is close, something like that. So keep all of those things in mind. You may say, well, I did all that. I cut out my cable. I don't even have cable anymore. We just have our Fire Stick. We just have this Roku device and we stream. But then think about this. Do you have Hulu? Do you have Netflix? Do you just watch canned TV all the time? How do you get your information? Is YouTube there for you? And then, are you paying for these? Used to be all these streaming services were mere dollars, just a few dollars. And now you notice that some of these can go hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. And you're not thinking about that. You might have YouTube that you're paying $100 for because you got the YouTube TV. You may have Apple TV. You may have all of these different things streaming. And guess what? It's draining your budget and you're not realizing because it's not really with your regular bills. It's your streaming services. It could be connected to your wallet through your phone and it could just be taking these purchases. Also, do you sign up for additional purchases? Or sometimes there are certain things that you may come across where they are offering just that period where you don't have to pay in 2 weeks. They'll charge you. You can try it for free. Yes, free trials. They're out there. They are playing everyone's budget. So you want to think about that. If I need something and I sign up for a service, what's that free period? Because what is happening is that the subscriber you're signing up from is just really banking on the fact of whether you like the service or not, you will continue to pay for it. If they say that they're going to give you a 14-day notice and then they're going to bill your account, they're hoping that at day 13 and 14, you have forgotten and they can bill you whether you like it or not. And then you'll continue to let them bill you. And you may say, that doesn't happen to me. But there's so many people out there with gym memberships that never even go to the gym. And why is that? Because it's something that you set up. It's convenient. It just bills to your account. And do you really need it? Do you actually go? Are there cheaper alternatives just for you? And I'm sure there's some things that we may be able to find that we can use instead of just cutting into our budget every single month for something that we don't use. Think about it. There are those things out there that we don't think about. We think about all the time whether our bills are being paid, but we're not looking at those budget busters, those little spending leaks and those little drains that are plaguing our budgets. And so that's what I want you to be aware of. That's why we're in deep survival mode here. We've got to get that stuff cut off and be able to save that money into our budget each and every single month. Also, we're thinking about those things that we do daily that drain our budget when we don't think about it. If you are at work, do you and your coworkers order out a lot? Do you go out a lot? Do you get coffee where you have to pay extra or go to local coffee shops or anything like that? Think about it. Do those things happen for you? And if so, what are ways you can either cut it out or cut back on those things? We want to be able to save. We're in survival savings mode. Yes. Those are things that are draining our budgets. Also, let's think about this too. Eating out, fast food, a lot of times we see that there are certain things. We think we're going to go get a quick meal from one of the fast food chains and maybe spend, $5, $10. And by the time you get out of that line, price is $15, $20 and you really haven't changed your order. You've been ordering the same thing all along. Think about this. There are certain chains out there that will increase their prices or inflate their prices just because they know they can. If no one's really complaining about it. And they have followed trends. They've been following and tracking your spending. They know when you are more likely to spend more. They know when you're more likely to go to a restaurant, to stop by those chains. And so they're using it to their advantage. There have been a couple of different restaurants that have announced at certain high peak hours, their menu is going to be more expensive, right? Same thing. But if you get it at, 11 o'clock versus 1 o'clock, there's going to be a huge difference in how much it costs you. And again, at first, it may not seem to affect us, but if they're differentiating their pricing, and you're not noticing that you're paying a couple extra dollars more at one time of the day and then the other for the exact same thing, that trend is only going to continue. So we want to be smart. We want to make sure that we know that they can't get us. Pay attention to what the prices are and what time of day you are actually purchasing them and what area you're in. Certain areas in and around the city, throughout the suburbs, certain areas will charge a different rate for certain things. You may go to one McDonald's and nuggets are different prices. You may go and you may see that there's an eat-in tax. You may see that there's a tax for carryouts. These are things that drain our budget and we don't even know about it. So yeah, it goes a little bit past just looking at our budget, but it's controlling our spending habits, looking at what we're buying, what we're purchasing, looking at the quantity. Back to the grocery stores, quantity has drastically changed for a lot of items. Those items that we feel that we need in order to survive, such as milk, such as eggs, such as bread. Has anyone noticed that the actual slices of bread are getting smaller and smaller? Some bread that for certain dietary restrictions, they're a little bit higher priced. And so we know that that's going to happen. But your everyday average ones that you've been buying for years and years, they may be costing just a little bit more and be smaller. Think about look at the bags of sugar. You also want to look at the meat packaging as well. So these are things that we're not even noticing that are draining our budgets. And we're like, man, I buy the same thing all the time. What's going on? So now we want to start doing some comparison shopping. See who offers that item at a lower price. And you'll be amazed to find out who actually does. Look at your receipts. Or even while you're in the store, we know that we all use our phones, be it you are an Android user or an Apple user. We can Google things 2 seconds in 1 minute, look it up and see if that item, we can scan it from the grocery store and see the price of that same item somewhere else. We can see, sometimes it could even be a price difference at the same exact store chains. So do your homework, do your research. Also, looking at the price of gas, paying attention to when you should buy your gasoline. Certain days of the week, it's just a little bit cheaper. And I know sometimes even I've fallen victim to, okay, I'm going to wait till after this is over, then I'm going to buy my gas. And by the time I get to that gas station, prices have gone up like 50 cents out the blue. We're not paying attention. We're not looking at when the gas is the cheapest. We're not looking at our budgets to figure out how much gas we're actually using or what we need. And sometimes, yes, sometimes those expenses do change. I do know that. But you want to keep a record of it, keep in mind, and do those searches while you're sitting at the gas station. See where in the 1 or 2 mile radius, where is there another gas station? And there's some tools out there like Gas Buddy and some others that are out there that can tell you what the gas prices are while you're traveling so that you know how far you need to go. So typically, if you are looking at surviving and you know that you just need a little bit more wiggle room, you think you're okay, but you don't know if things change in the future, will you still be okay? So we're thinking about that now while we're trying to make it through. Typically, the only things that you can do, you can increase your income or decrease your expenses. We're always talking about decreasing your expenses, but how is it that you are able to increase your income? And a lot of times we may say, man, I work really hard. I'm tired of this job. I don't feel like I'm being paid what I'm due. And I don't know what I should do. And keep this in mind. A lot of times what we find out is that when you're looking to make money, I can tell you to find a hustle, find a better way of making money, get some money made on the side. But honestly, what you want to do, for some people, that's not an easy task to do. Yes, you can see what it is that you are good at. What are your hobbies? What are your skills? What are your talents that you can possibly capitalize on and either get a second job or look at trying to take some time to turn whatever it is that you're doing into some money. But a lot of times that does take a lot as well. Think about your profession, thinking about your career, where you're working right now, and is there any room for advancement where you are currently at? Does your job offer any training programs? Does your job offer you incentives or even raises or bonuses in the future? And knowing what those policies are. So you want to think about that. And then if you feel like I'm stuck, there's nothing else that I can do here, you may want to consider looking at other options as far as employment goes. They say sometimes the best time, well, no, we know the best time for you to find a new job is when you already have one. You've got that security. You know that for now your paycheck is secure. You are going to continue to get this income until you switch things around, until you decide to change. But it is okay to explore your other options. Get that resume together. Make sure you update it even with your current job and put what your skills are. Look at your skills and how much you've grown since you started that job there. And you want to look at your next job and say, I'm looking at these ads. I see this come through every day. I'm looking at postings. I'm going to, different jobs, Indeed, jobs.com, all of these different websites that are offering, other options. Just showing me that in my field, there's other positions available. So get your resume together and look at what will offer you better pay. If you're looking for a flexible schedule, flexible hours, see what's out there. If you are looking for more benefits. And yes, the purpose of this is to make your situation better. You may feel, hey, well, where I'm at is fine, but I do want full time. I could be working for a job where sometimes they will give me hours up to just shy of being full time, but it's not consistent. You may have a job where you're working 35 hours instead of a full 40, but they won't give you benefits. So is there something more for you? Is there something better? Is there something in a different field or even the field that you're in that interests you and will allow you to make more money? And the best time to figure that out is while you are working, while you do have that job, because the last thing you want is to be let go or laid off. And then now you're struggling. The strange thing about that is that most companies, they do not have any type of loyalty towards you. And so it's being said that, again, if you need to make your budget work better for you, you can increase your income or decrease your expenses. So you do consider those options now while you still are employed. So that's something that you do want to think about. And you may say, I love my job. I love what I do. You can still explore other options and see with your current employer, you can say, hey, I've got a job offer for somewhere else, and they're willing to pay me just a little bit more than you are right now. Is there any room for advancement? Anything that can be done? Any chances of increasing my salary? And then you'll know. Then you'll find out. Now, again, not sure how this relates to you, your current situation, but again, the only thing you can do is increase your income or decrease your expenses. So you can try and use that as leverage to see if your current employer will allow you to do a little bit more or will increase your salary, increase your responsibilities. Because remember, with greater pay comes greater responsibilities. So you will have to make that adjustment. And just hopefully this will help your life, help you survive everything that's out there and put things into a better perspective. So we went a little bit deeper on our budgeting, on making sure that we are able to balance things out and being in survival mode, trying to get out of survival mode and keep things on track for you. Again, you can contact a counselor at Family Credit at 800-994-3328 or go to the website familycredit.org, download My Spending Plan or Personal Finance Made Easy. Yes, this workbook I actually love, and there's so much great information in here. So keep that in mind. You can start your budget here and just make sure that you are looking at, income, expenses, being able to cut those out, cut those down, and making your budget work for you. That is what my hope for you is, that this information will allow you to have better financial freedom, to get out of debt, make your budget work for you, be able to save and invest in you and the way that you see fit. So if you've got any other questions, again, reach out to Family Credit at 800-994-3328 or go online to familycredit.org. Look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Take care.